Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Private Property Farming Podcast. My name is Mbali Nwoko, your host, every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. I hope you've been enjoying the gardening series and all the lovely competitions that we're running on that particular series. So keep looking out on our social media pages for fantastic prizes, and keep supporting the gardening series as well as the farming podcast. So today we're talking about microgreens, growing microgreens and the benefits thereof. So if you have green fingers and particularly like microgreens to be specific, I think this show is for you. And we're joined by two amazing entrepreneurs from Happy Greens. They don't grow cannabis, just by the way, they grow microgreens. I know the name might sound a bit funny, but I hope that in their production, they definitely are happy farmers growing happy greens, as their name says it. So today we're joined by Rhuan Oosthuizen and Thinus Crous, who are both co-founders of Happy Greens. And if you have any questions for both the gentlemen tonight, please feel free to ask and we could answer them directly live right here onto the show. Otherwise, keep commenting, liking and sharing this farming podcast, and we love engagement. So anything that you have to say, we definitely take it quite seriously. And if there's any other topics that you would like us to talk about here on the farming podcast, please do throw your suggestions and follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube as well, and subscribe to our channel. Well, let's get straight into the show. Gentlemen, Rhuan, Thinus, thank you so much for coming onto the show. How are you doing?
Hi, Mbali. Thanks for having us.
Hi, Mbali.
We're doing fine.
Doing great. Thank you.
Yes.
Great. It's good to know. Well, you've got a very, very interesting background, right? It seems like you're in a container. I can definitely see some greens there. I can see some LED lighting. So tell us about Happy Greens. When did you start and how were you producing the Happy Greens?
Well, the concept, we got the idea from, we both were sick with COVID and obviously in bed with the phones. And I came across a video from a guy in the US that said, my side hustle for 2020, growing microgreens as a business. And immediately I thought, this is so me. And obviously I've got green thumbs and I just started running with it, and this is what we got today. And there's a vision and we're going forward with it.
Right. And how did Rhuan come on board? Because you're saying you saw that video, Thinus. So how did Rhuan come aboard? Rhuan, do you have green fingers as well? Or did you just find the concept of growing microgreens quite interesting?
Well, yeah, the concept of growing it is absolutely amazing. The health benefits, everything that is constituted to microgreens is just amazing. So when he came up with the idea of it, I was on board immediately. I don't have green fingers myself, but I help with all the other things like the admin and the finances and keeping track of
media,
of our social media accounts, all of that stuff, things I'm good at. I'll leave the planting to him.
Right. So it sounds like Thinus is the farmer and you're pretty much the marketer, which is quite a good combination, because you definitely need the two. So Thinus, from a production level, the backdrop that we're seeing, are you growing microgreens in that specific structure using LED lighting? Are you using soil or some form of growing medium? Maybe just take us through your actual production processes.
Yeah, so your microgreens is grown in a tray.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is your pea microgreens. So that's the tray. So you'll weigh your seeds off. So each variant's got a certain weights of seeds that you need to weigh off, and your growing medium is cocoa peat. It's all sterile, and so you'll sow your seeds, and then you will soak you'll soak your seeds. You'll soak your seed for either 4 hours or 8 hours, 24 hours, depending on the variant. Then you'll sow it on top of your cocoa peat, and it will go under dark, and then it will start sprouting for 3 to 4 days. And then you will put it under lights. So your growing period is between 14 and 21 days, depending on your variant.
Mm. Okay. And, we have some people thinking that because it's grown on cocoa peat, it's under LED lighting, it is organic, right? So are you using any form of pesticides? It looks like a very enclosed structure where minimal pests come in. So how does microgreens need to flower? Does it need bees? Or do you need, like an ecosystem of some pests to really make sure that the plant grows well?
So the environment it grows in is supposed to be isolated, pesticide free. So it's temperature controlled as well, and humidity controlled. So grow at a temperature of 25 degrees Celsius and between 30% and 60% humidity. So if your humidity is too high, you look at getting mold and stuff. And so it's a very controlled area that you need to grow it in.
Yeah, it sounds quite technical. Like, who assisted you with all this technical information, in terms of the lighting, the degrees, the temperatures, and so forth?
Well, Google search. There's so much information on the internet. It's actually scary.
We were watching YouTube videos for days on just soaking up all the information, and then we got funds together. We got our first trays, our first batches of seeds, built the first part of the enclosure. And when we did our first trial batch, it was just like, it
was amazing.
It was amazing. we definitely need to continue with this. And we've been...
And the joy you get out of it, planting those seeds and seeing it grow and sprout, is just amazing, an amazing feeling.
So if you can share, gentlemen, like, how big is this enclosed structure that you've built, firstly? And number two, how dependent is it on light, really? We have load shedding nowadays. So does one have to get like a backup generator, some solar system in place? And maybe how many plants can one grow? I don't know if that's the right question, because microgreens are quite small, so maybe there's like hundreds of thousands in that small enclosure that you have there. So how big is the structure? And how heavily reliant is it on electricity? And also maybe how many seeds or plants are you growing? What can one look at harvesting from a kilogram perspective in that structure? I know it's quite a number of questions, but I think you can answer it, within one sentence or two. Yeah.
So the structure we got up here it's a 2 by 6 meter structure. I've got 3 shelves.
Okay.
Each shelves carries 30 trays. So out of these 30 trays or 60 trays, I can get about 8 kgs of microgreens. So I would plant like in sequence to harvest every Friday or delivery on every Friday.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Fresh delivery every Friday.
Fresh delivery every Friday. So it's quite an intensive workout there. Just making sure that, you've got happy greens growing and harvesting and delivering to your clients. Is that the case?
Yes.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. How much time do you spend in your little farm making sure that you're getting the right crop or the right microgreens at the end of the day once you harvest for your clients?
Well, it's quite intense because you need to look at your temperature constantly,
especially with weather changes.
With all the rain we're having lately, your humidity is quite high, So you use a dehumidifier to take all the moisture out of the air. So yeah, electricity plays a big part of it. Luckily for me, on the one side, I've got a big window facing the sun side of the house, so I get exposure to the sun as well.
So maybe for Rhuan, what type of varieties are you growing? So I see the green plants there at the back, and I see some plants that are almost like purple in color, and sometimes, is there a difference between herbs and microgreens? Because sometimes people think microgreens are herbs. So maybe just educate us a little bit on the difference between the two, and what type of varieties of microgreens are you growing there?
Now, we've gotten a lot of references before where people confuse herbs with microgreens. Now, with microgreens, it's an actual vegetable. So our variants that we're growing here, we have sunflowers, broccoli, bok choy, which is a Chinese salad. Our purple one that you were referencing is a radish. It's got a nice, spiky, spicy taste. It's very, as well with our mustard. It's got a very intense taste to it.
Yeah.
Very delicious. And then, other than that, we've got the pea shoots and rocket, which is the arugula variant of the lettuce. And this week we're going to grow or taste onions to So every time we get a new variant that we want to try out, if it's a success, then we add it to the production line, and then it gets added because we produce two weights of, it's a 150 gram and a 75 gram tub that's available at greengrocers. It's Apple Tree and our local spas here. They and in the tub is a mix of all the variants.
So tell me, Thinus, when you started growing, right? So I suppose, like you said, you saw this man's video. It was a side hustle that he started, and you decided, let me start as well. So once you started and you saw the stuff growing, at what stage did you decide then to say, let me just take this to market? Or were you just consuming the microgreens for your own personal consumption?
Well, the first time we grew it and we actually tasted it, we were wowed by the taste of it.
And the boost that you get, it's such a, it's like drinking an energy drink without the negative health after effects that you get from an energy drink. It just gives you that feeling, that perk that you want, and it's good for the stomach as well.
Yeah. So apologies for my question here, but how do people eat microgreens, right? Because my interaction with microgreens is literally seeing them on a plate, as the chef has sprinkled something just as a form of decoration. But you mentioned that you're selling it to like Apple Tree and the local retailer as well. How are you selling it? Like, I think you mentioned in tubs, right? So do people buy microgreens literally in tubs? And then how does one eat it? Because my perception of microgreens is that they've purely used as a form of decoration on a plate.
Well, microgreens are so convenient because you can take out a little bit of it and just put it on a sandwich, or you can make smoothies out of it.
Add them to your salads.
Chop them up. You can add them basically to any meal. Breakfast meals, eggs, the possibilities are endless.
we take all our excess microgreens and we slice them up, juice them up with juice, fruit and some ice, and then we make a whole batch of microgreen smoothies that we just batch up and freeze, and then every time with the meal we'll have a microgreen smoothie, which is like this energy drink.
Oh, wow. This is fantastic. So with your clients, I mean, are you selling it under the brand of Happy Greens? And also take us through those conversations that you started having with clients. Was it quite easy to get to market? Or were they saying, geez, we've been waiting for a microgreens customer? So just take us through that journey of the branding process and obviously speaking to your clients for them to buy your microgreens.
Well, at first, not everybody is familiar with microgreens. So I need to people, you get your sprouts and then you get your baby leaves. So microgreens are the one in between sprouts and baby greens. And those microgreens are 40%, 40 times more nutrients than its adult counterpart. That's the health benefits of microgreens. So just imagine 1 cup of broccoli microgreens, you have to eat 40 cups of the adult broccoli heads compared to the 1 cup of microgreens. Same amount of nutrients out. That makes sense.
Yeah. And when your clients just started saying, okay, like, did you have to make a few harvests and show them the samples of your microgreens? And how was that reception like?
Well, our packaging are quite unique. When you open the tub, it's like a little garden of microgreens, all the different variants, and we actually grew popcorn for the first time, and that's quite interesting. Interesting crop. So it's all yellow. People can go onto our Facebook page or Instagram to see what it looks like. It's quite unique.
So we basically started with private customers, people we knew who were health conscious, and approaching them with the idea, giving them samples. From there on, we approached local retailers to telling them about the health benefits and giving them some of our private clients' references. We're now on 4 greengrocers that we supply to every week. So it's so convenient. You can just pop in, grab a tub, and got all the nutrients that you need right there. And our main aim is not really to create this empire. It's really to sell the idea of being healthy and selling this to a market where people need extraordinary nutrition, where people suffering with ailments, illnesses, and stuff like that. People who probably on strong medications, stuff like that messes with your digestive system. And there are so many health benefits, so many, they contain so many minerals and acids and all of that stuff. We've got lists, all the variants on our social media pages. We've got all the variants listed and all their health benefits. So you guys need to check it out there.
Yeah, I'd like you to just bring on those health benefits. But before you do so, I just want to find out, what are some of the challenges that you guys have experienced in growing microgreens? So, for example, I know you mentioned that it's quite intensive. You have to check the temperatures quite often. Is cold chain also another challenge? Is, getting the crop rotation cycles another challenge? So maybe just take us through some of the challenges or obstacles that you've had to undergo and obviously surpass once you started, or when you started Happy Greens, specifically where production is concerned.
Well, I think the biggest challenge thus far was trying to get the humidity down to what it's supposed to be, between 30 and 60%. Otherwise, no other major hassles. That's it. It's really easy to grow.
Yeah.
Hygiene is obviously a big factor. So everything must be hygienic. and you need to sanitize your trays because you reuse your trays every time.
Yes.
So it needs to be washed and sanitized and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. So, Rhuan, what are those health benefits? Are they best for people who are diabetic, have cancer? Just take us through the health benefits of having microgreens in our diets.
Well, since you pointed out the radish, which is our prettiest microgreen here with the purple.
Can I bring one closer?
Yeah, bring one closer. I've got a whole list here. The radish microgreen in particular, it's an anti-cancer food. High glucosinolate concentration of microgreens, especially radish microgreens, makes it more suitable anti-cancer foods as compared to broccoli. It's got weight loss effects, benefits for the skin. Radish microgreens also contains an antioxidant-rich component, like a high concentration of polyphenols, causing help to reduce Alzheimer's disease risks. And then also microgreens helps in diabetes. The antioxidant present in radish microgreens, helps to reduce the stress that can prevent sugar from properly entering the cells. Research studies show that radish microgreens increases the glucose uptake up to 25%, thus helping reducing diabetes. So we've got all of this listed on our social media pages for every single variant, but mostly this would be concentrated on a market for people who have, I won't say severe illnesses, but mainly health concerns to severe illnesses. We are living in a time where, people want to be more health conscious. They want to be more conscious of what they put into their bodies, especially now with COVID and, people taking vaccines. People are being conscious of what's going into their bodies. And I think starting with food and starting to educate people on this particular superfood, because it's been around in Asia for thousands of years. We've only picked it up on the Western side, but no, it's actually not really a brand new thing, but I think it's never been commercialized as big as your fully grown vegetables, because it is such a labor intensive process, to get it to this stage to actually harvest, pack, and supply it to a supplier and to a greengrocer. To get to that point, back in those days, setting up a factory to do that was just, it was out of the question. But, with advanced technologies today, what we've done in here, we can just multiply by 10 or 100 in a warehouse situation, and boom, we can supply the entire country if we want.
Yeah. That sounds so amazing. And I mean, when I think about the landscape of South Africa, is that we're such a cash crop society, where the most important or the most in-demand crops are your cabbages, your tomatoes, your potatoes, your onions, and carrots, because that's what a lot of people consume. And you are quite right, Rhuan, to say, it's microgreens aren't so popular. It's typically seen as an affluent or niche crop where you literally just find them in restaurants and not usually your greengrocers. Share some experiences with us, or the feedback that you've had with the private clients that you've sold to. What have they said about Happy Greens, and have they come to you and say, please train us so that I could grow these at the comfort of my own garden or in my own home?
Yes, we had customers coming to us. We want to grow this because they're far away from us, and we only deliver Johannesburg and Victoria at this stage.
Yeah.
So I've got friends in St. Lucia and Plettenberg Bay.
And my parents in Nelspruit, who my dad's also growing. He ordered stuff from Joburg, which we shipped down for him. So he's also now experimenting with it, because we shipped some of the actual microgreens to them on a weekly basis because my mom loves it. So, but now he wants to grow it for her. So everyone is into
So we got
it.
people addicted to microgreens now.
Fantastic, getting everybody to eat microgreens. Tell us about the future plans for Happy Greens. I mean, I'm sure there are those customers that could say, Happy Greens, please build this structure for myself in my own home and teach me how to farm it. So are there any prospects of maybe franchising this concept that you've started and making it quite popular, or just where do you see yourself in the next year maybe?
Well, I've got a vision. Next year, this time, we want to do 1,000 trays, and our 5-year vision. Our 5-year vision is to have a warehouse with to supply
nationwide.
Nationwide, and that's our vision. And obviously empowering people in the country and getting them to grow as well. Every household should actually be growing microgreens, and it's a part of their diet.
Just like people grow herbs as, something that people have a tiny little herb garden, teach people to have a tiny little microgreens garden as well, because, there's nothing as better than a fresh cut batch of greens that you just add to whatever dish you just put together. It just adds that
extra
touch,
flavor and
and you feel great afterwards. And it's really can't explain the feelings of the feelings you get from when you eat.
The taste is very, 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 very
unique. It's very unique. It's very pungent. It's very spicy. But the feeling you get afterwards, it's like you've just eaten something really healthy, but it wasn't, how can I say it, disgusting.
Yes.
Sometimes health food isn't really nice, but it makes you feel good, where this tastes really delicious and it makes you feel good as well.
Right. So it's quite easy on the taste buds there, and, people could just use it in their daily diet. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for such an informative conversation around microgreens. I definitely see you guys blowing up, because it seems like it's such a nice and neat structure. You've grasped the concept of growing microgreens and already selling to retail, so they trust you enough. So tell me, any shout outs that you want to make? Maybe, thanking those customers that bought from you in the early stages, and where could people find Happy Greens?
Yes, I just want to give a shout out to Rhuan from BAC Logistics, who has supported us in our journey so far, and Marius from
Absolute Water. We sponsored our it's Marius and Kaylin. Sponsored our
water purification system.
Yes. That we use for the watering of the microgreens, because we there's a lot of heavy metals and stuff. Although the water here in Ekurhuleni is at a high standard. We're on the safe side with a reverse osmosis water system. So you can find Happy Greens in Apple Trees, Edenvale, and Alberton. It's also available at Superspar, Cara Glen, and Meyersdal. And you can order privately from us. Just send us an email at happy.greens@outlook.com, or you can find us on Instagram or Facebook, Happy Greens Urban Farm.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Thinus and Rhuan, for coming on to the show. Happy farming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. That was Rhuan and Thinus, from both co-founders of Happy Greens, where we spoke about microgreens and the benefits thereof. Towards the end of the conversation, you could definitely catch their products in those specific retail stores, and you could order directly directly to Happy Greens online. So reach out to them via email and follow them on their social media pages, which I will definitely do so, because I think the concept in which they're using to grow the microgreens is quite interesting. And so, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Short and sweet and quite precise. And yeah, I hope you got enough information maybe to start your own microgreens. Contact the gents and maybe you could be trained by them as well, but keep supporting their business as well. And yeah, if you have any questions, comments, this particular video will be on our YouTube channel under the Farming Podcast playlist in the Private Property YouTube channel. So be sure to catch this episode. Reach out to either Rhuan or Thinus if you have any other questions that we didn't cover onto the show regarding microgreens. And yeah, happy farming and have a fantastic Thursday evening, as well as a lovely weekend ahead. That's it from Private Property, the Farming Podcast. See you next week, Tuesday. Take care.